Max Trinity's Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention, Part 6, The Fellowship Task. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Jesus said that. It's interesting to me that all of Christian religion shortens the meaning interpretation of this statement of Jesus. All the focus is on the four words, lay down his life, the sacrifice aspect of the statement. The part right after that receives absolutely no emphasis, showing that one can choose to ignore particular words of those they proclaim to follow. That's cool. We're meant to create our own meanings by choosing what we focus on. But let's reflect on the whole statement. Who is it that this man of great love lays his life down for? For his friends, that's who. Not his tribe, or his nation, or his country, or his beliefs, or his ideas, nor his freedom or family. No, this great love is proclaimed to find its home in friendship, that he lay down his life for his friends. Why would a spiritual teacher say such a thing? What is the obvious secret here? I call it the if you ain't friends, you ain't shit principle. Without friendship as a foundation, no other flavor of relationship can have any real depth, any real reach, or meaningfulness. Think about it. Reflect on that. If you're married, but you're not each other's friend, well then, you ain't really shit to each other. If you're siblings, but you're not friends, you won't be close. If you are parent and child, or any family relation, and you're not friends, you will not even really know each other. When your relationship is founded on friendship, it has the forever quality of shared adventure, the freest sense of equality, intimacy, and vulnerability, and the comfort and familiarity of home. Because that's where you feel like you belong with your friends. The value of sacrifice. Sacrifice is a necessary and inevitable practice of love. It's a part of the dualistic view that travels with us into adolescence. Sacrifice is the dualistic perspective of win-lose scenarios. In the infinite paradoxical state, we move on from the win-lose scenarios and embrace the win-win scenarios of all-inclusiveness. It's important for us to know and choose what we're willing to sacrifice for. We don't literally lay down our lives, though. That's a metaphor for the depth of passion involved in friendship, not sacrifice. It's like, oh, I love my friend so much, I'd die for him. You see, it's that simple. No, what we sacrifice is our time, our attention, our energy, our comfort, our pride, our wants, and even our needs, but never our whole lives. Sacrificing your life is a form of extremism. It's fanatical, and it totally separates the sacrificer from the one they're sacrificing for. That's not the highest form of love. When we sacrifice for others, it's meant to create a bond between the giver and the receiver. There is no debt created, but it's always so sweet when you get to return the favor or pay it forward. If the sacrificer lays down their life, the receiver can never return the favor or even pay it forward, and the flow of love gets fragmented and dammed up. Your experiences with sacrifice are to teach you how to put your focus outside your own needs and wants, and to learn how to give good attention to others with no idea of reward or status, and especially not self-righteousness. Stay away from that. Your sacrifice period ends when you decide, through your own signs and meanings, that your offering of sacrifice is fulfilled, that you've learned what you needed to learn from it. We're not meant to stay in that phase. We're meant to grow into the all-inclusive, infinite, win-win scenarios of our relationships. We're able to gracefully love ourselves and others fully in the expanded states, and no one needs sacrifice or experience loss unless they choose to. Jesus told us straight up here that the greatest love we have is for our friends. I take that to mean that friendship is the highest form of relating and the foundation of all other relationships. Jesus himself traveled his entire adult life with his crew, not with his tribe or nation, not even with his family. Now, this doesn't mean that family is no big deal. Of course it is. It just means that family without friendship is really no big deal. There's a 20th century saying that you shouldn't try to be friends with your kids, that you should be a loving authority figure, leader and provider only. I think the point is really to not act your children's age, to maintain your mature perspective. In fact, it's beneficial to form strong friendships between parents and children, because at some point you will be peers. When children become adults, if there's already a strong friendship bond with their parents, they will always happily make family time and sharing a high priority. If there's little to no friendship, children will drift away from their parents and their parents' influence. One of the richest experiences of my life, is to reach veteran status and sit alongside your parents or children as equal, bonded co-creators of the present quality of life and molders of joint futures. That's a deep and wonderful aspect of friendship. It's within our self-chosen circle of friends, no matter if it's just you and your best bud, that we cross the great gulf, fight our battles, discover our most natural sense of self, and form the roots of our personal mysticism and spirituality. It's with our friends that we make the most open and treacherous parts of our warrior journey. We make the journey alongside our warrior friends and discover firsthand and emphatically that our friends are most definitely our soulmates too. When we're hanging out with our friends, our individual souls are hanging out at the very same time. You can so feel it. That's the juiciness of friendship. It's heavy-duty soul time crossing over with the physical plane. Why? Because friendship is based on two major meanings. Firstly, we freely choose to be friends, so freedom is involved. And friendship is based on the most accepting and unconditional form of love there is. There it is. Freedom and love. That's what I think Jesus was talking about. That's my take on it. Legend and friendship. The collective legends of our time reflect the collective mystical messages for our time. They also point directly to our personal use of meaning and how these messages apply to our lives. In these times, our legends come from the shared stories that have bridged the 20th and 21st centuries. These legends have come forth in a variety of mediums: books, films, music, comics, folklore, and festivals. In our time, films and books have the greatest impact on multicultural sharing of collective legends, so that will be our focus here. For example, let's look at Tolkien's works, especially the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Star Wars and Harry Potter sagas. Some of the common themes in these three epics are the warrior's quest, the fleshing out of finding meaning, initiates and elders of metaphysical paths and gripping battles with darkness. And above all these shared themes is this: the value of friendship and the profound bond that's born from shared adventure, shared exploration and discovery, shared affection, shared vestment, and belonging. The extraordinary power of the love for and between friends is the central theme of these modern myths, the heart of the stories, as it were. Now, There are reasons that these tales of friendship appeal to us on such a deep level. Reasons why we identify with their characters so much. It's because we are these characters in our own lives. We are Frodo and Sam. We are Luke and Leia and Han. We are Harry and Hermione and Ron, metaphorically speaking. These characters and their experiences with new and deep friendships, with ethics and values, with love and fear and death and mysticism, are felt firsthand by us because we're on the same adventure. These are all tales of crossing the great gulf and doing it with your friends, your mates, your companions. It's a perfect mirror for our own emotional and physical expansion, played out in grand story fashion, so well done that we know in our own hearts that all these so-called fictional folk and places really do exist. You can't convince a child of the 20th century and even the 21st that the Shire isn't a real place, that there is no such thing as the Force, or that there is no real magic left in the world. We know better. When we're reading a book or watching a film, we're having a direct experience with meaning, context, and story. We're experiencing firsthand the movement of our emotions and triggering of epiphanies that literally fly us to another realm. We have an altered experience of reality through story. Because of the link between story and imagination, our minds and bodies align in this activity of experiencing the story. It's your personal experience of the story that triggers your personal take on it. You'll integrate the language into your everyday speak. You'll take some of the symbols and use them as personal signs, and you'll reflect on these stories when they so closely match your own. In this depth of connection of mind and body and imagination, we tap our soul with pure frequencies, so even our soul is involved. It's like our soul self can sit around a mystical campfire with the essence of our fictional friends and share in a whole other dimension the unfolding story. It's like our mind and body are reading a story to our soul or watching a movie with our soul. That's pretty fucking cool. So think about this the next time you watch a movie with your friends. Your soul and your friends' souls are hanging out there too. That's soulmate stuff. That's killer. In modern Western culture, this aspect of sharing epic adventure and co-discovery of meaningfulness has been essentially stripped from the fellowship domain. The metaphysical path of friendship has been allocated to entertainment and co-opted by schooling and pre-packaged religious practice. This is how we lost the knowledge of the quest and the true purpose of our adolescent times. Over the centuries, our time of questing has been diminished and curtailed. We've been programmed to see it as a time for mostly just pissing off and not really accomplishing anything much outside of schooling. It's as if the independent quest for finding out what life means to you and how you want to live your life is dispensable. It's not. That's part of the reason so many people are experiencing imbalance and chaos. We're living too far out of sync with our intrinsic and observable designs. That's why our art mind has preserved the quest in story form to help remind us, lest we forget. We, along with our friends, will have to make the long trek across the Mordor of adolescence. We will battle with our dark sides and the darkest sides of humanity we've seen yet, and we will learn what our magic powers are and how to use them in our own tale of life and the stories we're unfolding now. Okay, I just want to take a little side note here and just say, I want you to see clearly how your story is happening from you, not to you, okay? Stop saying, this happened to me or that happened to me, and start saying, this happened from me, that happened from me. That way, You'll easily see your own hand in all your experiences and how it is that you are crafting your own life out of all the surprising events and feelings that pop up along your path. Okay? When you and your friends take the time to share what you're experiencing, what you're finding out, and what it's like for you living in this world, then you are sharing a metaphysical path. When you are shaping each other's values and preferences through discussion and experience, then you are sharing a metaphysical path. When you have each other's back and are there for each other through grief and celebration and can learn from each other, then you're sharing a metaphysical path. When you can read each other's minds, understand the full meaning of a single expression, when you have a lot of déjà vu and telepathy, or when you feel as if you've always known and loved each other, as if you've met before you met, well then, not only are you sharing a metaphysical path, you're sharing a mystical path as well. Mysticism is the soul's domain of metaphysics. When you share mysticism, you're sharing as soulmates. That's what our modern myths are portraying for us. That's the depth and power of friendship and the way we create our own epics, our own sagas and personal legends. That's magic, pure magic. Friendship and redemption. My friend Amanda once pointed out that some friendships are like lightning. They're bright, exciting, and intense, but they only last a brief period. Other friendships stretch out like a long shared road, and sometimes last for most, if not all, of our lifetime. You can never tell how long a friendship will last until you get a ways down the road and see who's still there. The lightning relationships tend to carry a particular and singular message. Sometimes we have a spontaneous adventure that goes deep fast, and then whoosh, it's over. Oftentimes, these encounters are like a shared wand tap that liberates each of us from limiting or even suffocating views. Or we'll get a shared view of incredible things that profoundly shift our whole perspective on reality. We often get these gem-like memories that we return to throughout our life and see as turning points on our path. Yeah, they are a lot like lightning. The long-term friendships become so deeply integrated in our personal story that they become parts of the overall pattern of our story. The lives of our long-term friends weave in and out of ours like a major thread. It's a storyline within a storyline. It's a first-hand experience with oneness. We can see from this perspective that friendship is a form of mutual service, a way of blessing each other's life by just being ourselves. Our friends are who we can totally be ourselves with, and who like us for who we are. We enrich each other's stories, support each other, have fun together, and share all the aspects of each other's lives. We do this all because we like each other. That's so powerful. There are a lot of hard things to deal with in life, a lot of really shitty things. Friendship redeems the world for us. It's a sanctuary and a secret club, a perfect balance of freedom and love. Friendship is absolutely beautiful. Vestment and Prevention. Our friends matter to us. We care very much for the happiness, well-being, and dream fulfillment of our friends. We're involved in their stories, and they in ours to the most influential degree. We each fill supporting roles in the other's lives and celebrate together and grieve together and discover together and create side by side on the soul level. We are deeply vested in each other as friends. This is a powerful position for preventing and healing chronic depression, anxiety, extremity, and above all, avoiding the trap of delusion. It's a bad trap. The trap delusion is an insidious spell that clouds the mind with a veil of powerlessness and hopelessness. The trap spell whispers the worst fucking messages of all. This is where the suicide notion gets triggered. It's the nature of being trapped that triggers despair. Despair leads quickly to desperation, and then you're in the perfect storm at your weakest moment. At this point, you absolutely need help. Those who can reach you the quickest, those who can reach you at all, are those who you count as friends. In these times, as friends, we need to be armed with spirit CPR. We need to know the most direct routes to inspiring, inspiriting, and triggering an energetic shift in our desperate friends' mindset. We need a shift in narrative. The trap notion is working on a narrative of hopelessness, of powerlessness, of extremity, of pain that literally creates a sense of fading out, of a shrinking away from the living to what feels like an uncrossable distance, the sense that you are unreachable, even to yourself. These are the delusions that trap spell casts over the mind. You must form a healing narrative. Your healing narrative must be the exact antidote to these treacherous and very dangerous notions. This is life and death momentum, and it has to be honored and understood to be matched. You must be on hand and know immediately how to resuscitate the heart with the quickest words of support and intravenous hope. Simply being on the scene with your friend and stating that you're there and you've got them and you're staying until the event is fully resolved and the waves are manageable and encouragement is fully breathed back into their mind. This is spirit CPR. This reassurance and devotion of friends alone begins to lift the sufferer out of the fog. Then it's listening and intervening time. Humor is a brilliant transition tool from the edge of fragile respiriting to the deeper issues and course correction. We listen with our friend while they explain out loud to themselves in front of us how it came to this. This is what's primarily happening when we tell each other our deepest secrets. We're really outing ourselves to ourselves in front of our friends. We witness for each other this way and help each other keep clarity by seeing through each other's eyes. Our friends are like other sets of eyes for us, eyes we trust because we know they love us. So when your friend in crisis has regained some calm and can interact easily, that's when you go into the two main streams of emergency recovery of spirit. The first step is to do the intake interview. Only when it's just you and your buddies, someone's got to play the role of the doctor. Here's the twist. The patient plays the role of their own intake doc. Only a person who has seriously considered suicide, attempted suicide, dealt with a chronic or overwhelming depression or other overwhelming mindsets can really understand what needs to happen at an intake interview to make it an effective bridge to immediate healing and revival. When your friend is noticeably calmer, kind of feeling the wind of the bullet that they're dodging, then you try a little humor. Or they'll signal they're ready with their own dark jokes. Then take it to the intake. At this point, our friend imagines that he's a volunteer at a psych ward, and he's there to help a teenager, his own age, and in similar circumstances. We imagine that the kid has already been prodded by about 100 people and is just realizing that they've failed to complete their aim to die. So shitty. Our friend knows firsthand how shitty this kid feels. How now everything is even worse. What's the first question our friend would ask this kid? Both roles are being portrayed by our friends, so they pose the questions and then they just answer them honestly in the first person. The intake will advance naturally. It'll just unfold. You can practice this and see. As support crew, this is all quiet on the set time, while our friend works this out in front of us with the meaningful support of our full attention. The intake is to evolve into a bit of spirit medicine, to cast off the spell of the trap and its veil of despair. Encouragement, rebuilding of hope, and a sense of calm, if not peace, can and must be found to complete the first step. This process gives our friend the exact narrative they need to keep themselves from getting sucked that far out ever again. It also gives us the teaching equals learning gift. When we have to teach something to someone else, we end up learning more than we could ever transmit to another person. We learn the most from what we aspire to teach. We also learn how to heal ourselves when we practice healing others of the same pain we're feeling. We get direct experience with observable relief and reassurance, and we gain insight to our own obstacle opportunities that are hidden in the powerful episodes of our lives. We also turn our attention toward service, toward helping another, and that brings us out of our own head enough to get clarity. When we feel as though we're shrinking or fading or that we're invisible, those are signs that we're too deep in our own sense of individual existence. When we feel isolated, it's a direct sign from our soul that we are not focusing enough on our connection with others, our connection with everything. Helping, being of some kind of service, immediately shifts the perspective to connection and out of isolation. Helping always works in both directions. Relief is always shared by all involved. That's very cool. Very cool. Once you arrive at this recovery point, it's sharing time. Sharing time is the second phase of crisis management and prevention. Everyone involved now checks on everyone else. If someone else in the group is in the same boat, but they've been hiding it, this is a perfect moment to get some help from their friends. Even if someone is just struggling and not even thinking of suicide, there's still aid to be found in such a profound atmosphere. Many people find these times to be the turning points in their lives. The other crucial element is acknowledgement. It must be openly acknowledged that the one who was suffering talked their self out of the suffering with a healing narrative. Key points from the narrative can become part of your friend speak, so you can always check on each other in any circumstance and help build each other up through your shared signs and intimate knowing of one another. We also let each other know at this most appropriate time how much we treasure and need each other, how much we matter to each other, and how very much we love each other. Crying is allowed at all stages of the intervention. All feelings are allowed. This direct practice and skill will be life-saving, especially if you and your friends agree ahead of time that this is the action to be taken should anyone even begin to falter. That is real prevention, and demonstrates clearly the reach and depth and power of friendship. This strategy of spirit CPR needs to be discussed and practiced amongst friend circles of people, especially 15 to 20 years old. The reason for this is because by the time you reach that age group, you've had enough first-hand experience to understand every notion being laid out in this metaphysical approach to life. The other reason is gripping. You've got to get your game on here because there are little kidlings that are getting suicidal at the tender ages of 10 and 8 and 6. It's unspeakable. These kids are suffering because their childhood bubble has burst at a very young age. If you feel unprepared at 12 or 15 or 16, just imagine how they're feeling. Suicide is taking our young in mass numbers worldwide every day. I believe this is a sign to the generation of 12 to 35-year-olds to learn fast how to recognize the death of the childhood and others around us, and how to direct these children through this profound event and on to the path of early adolescence. These children need mentoring, and many times children, adolescents, and young adults are most comfortable with and motivated by veterans close to their own age. This is a call to all the youth of our planet. This is one of the great crises of our time, this scourge of depression and despair, this tidal wave of suicide. It is a crisis of meaning, context, and narrative, and is being perpetuated by obsolete notions about human nature and human needs. It will be rectified with hope-filled meanings, stabilizing context, and self-empowering narratives. Spirit CPR isn't the only approach, but it is an approach that fosters self and peer empowerment, as well as increasing stability and a deeper sense of connection between friends. This is all done with words. Our word wands are in hand. We can undo the spells of coldness, hopelessness, isolation, depression, anxiety, and despair. We can cast out our own negative self-talk, and when we do that, no one else's curses will ever be able to touch us. That's a fact, and a bonus. When we come out the other side of our battles, knowing we had our own backs and our friends' backs too, knowing we made it through and emerged with knowledge, and knowing that we can teach the new initiates a thing or two to equip them for their journey, that makes us a veteran, no matter how old we are in body. Our journey, side by side with our friends, is the actual adventure of our soul, and our friends are our soulmates, forever and for sure. Soulmates. Our soulmate circles are not hard to spot. Our family relations, especially our parents, are said to be long time, many lifetime soulmates that we have the greatest cosmic friendship with. It's the same with siblings, grandparents, and cousins. So families are soul groups that always create together in order to learn and experience and expand reach together. It's not that much of a stretch to take on this perspective of many lifetimes versus just one when you contemplate family connections. Even those who do the most harm to us, or those we consider to be an enemy, are said to be a part of our soul group and to be some of our best friends on the other side. This material comes from a multi-incarnation point of view. It's pretty limiting to think in terms of only one lifetime, and the multi-life notion gives us a great deal more of creative space when considering the meanings of our lives. All of eternity and only one physical life, regardless of how brief, that's just so limiting and certainly not very inspiring. More avenues into understanding consciousness and our experiential life are now opening up here on Earth. We're entering a time of more inclusiveness, and we will be including our soul. The task of fellowship isn't to find friends. You'll find each other all right. The task is to recognize and nurture the very real safety net and fun dome that houses your friendship. Be intentional with your friends. Let each other know that you matter enough to have contingency plans for crisis. That your friendship means you are like a pillar when you're strong, and even in times when you're not so strong, you'll still be cheering your friends on. Friendship is delicious. It's one of the greatest gifts in the universe, and one of the most honorable roles we can fulfill with our own self and with those we travel beside on this crazy road of life. Honor your friends and friendship. Be intentional with each other, and you'll fulfill the task of friendship and its wonderful blessings will follow you all the days of your being. A Friendship Manifesto. Let it be known that we freely and gladly agree that we are integral to each other's life stories. We feel naturally vested in the quality of each other's experiences. We care about how each other's story is going. We spend extra time together, centered on fun, celebration, contemplation, recreation, and memory making. We are each other's support, each other's sidekick and go-to personal person. We are each other's people through our mutual liking of each other as individuals. We pledge our affection, loyalty, and love, both spoken and unspoken. We are friends. I am so lucky that my daughters, Destiny and Nikki, are also two of my best and closest friends. I love these women. We have been through so much together, and I know, and I'm pretty sure they know too, that we are soulmates indeed, and will always be hanging out together. We'll always be coming back together to create new adventures, because that's us. That's what we do. Crazy gypsy pirate artist crew. I love you, Destiny and Nikki. For now and for always, we are friends. Watch Max Trinity's Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention, Part 7, The Task of Reflection. Peace to you, my friends.